Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Handhelds. I'm Joey, and today we're going to talk about the Retroid Pocket Mini, which got a new screen upgrade, and so we should talk about it. So I was very successful in my surgery of my Retroid Pocket Mini in replacing the old screen with the new screen, and I have to say it is downright gorgeous. Now, this isn't going to apply to anybody that doesn't have a Mini already, so this video might be a little bit more specific than most of my videos, but if you do have a Mini, you should pay attention. I ended up playing some Game Boy and Game Boy Color games just for fun to see the screen in all its glory, and it is essentially just perfection now. There is very, very little slivers of black bars on the side since it's not a perfect 8:7 aspect ratio, and it is instead a 31:27 aspect ratio, the exact same that is in the Retroid Pocket Classic. But at the very least, with the black front, it blends in while you're playing. But also, for those of you that are shader fans, yes, the shaders are actually all proper and working like a real grid should. Still not a shader fan, but no issues with them that I found, so the problem is solved at least from that perspective. Now, for those of you that are watching this video and maybe you're confused as to why this video even exists, why is the Mini have a new screen? What's going on? What is Joey even talking about? To make a long story short, when the Mini was initially shipped out, it looked like this, and you can see that there are top and bottom bezels of the shell that is covering the screen. Now, we learned afterwards that the screen actually extends past the top and the bottom. So these bezels are covering parts of the screen. And what they basically did was say, we made a 4:3 aspect ratio device, when in reality, it was the screen that is now on the new Retroid Pocket Mini, just hidden behind it. And so it wasn't really 4:3. And what was happening was people's shaders were being problematic because they weren't a real grid anymore. It was just a mishmash. Other games, you would notice little things here and there of pixels not matching up and all that sort of thing. Long story short is Retroid decided as a final thing to send out new Retroid Pocket Minis of the screen and the back plate, and it was up to you to now do surgery on it and replace all of the internals into the new shell. So that's why you could see here, this is my original Mini. It is just the front and I have the back plate elsewhere. I took all of the internals out, put it into the new front plate and back plate, and that's what you're seeing today in the black Mini that I have. Now, the unfortunate part is they are only sending out black front and backs, but that does leave a little bit of room for customization. So I had I forget what it was, SNES 16-bit, whatever, colored Retroid Pocket Mini. And so for me, it ended up being Skittle buttons front, and I have the triggers that are gray. Even my SD card slot is gray, all that sort of thing. But I'm imagining for those of you that have other colors, maybe you have the orange one, maybe you have the red one, maybe you have other options, you could mix and match. And I'm not sure if they still sell the buttons and D-pads and all that. You could go even further than that. So it is a great chance for you, if you are going to do the screen swap, to Frankenstein your own Mini in the way that you want. Now, as for the actual surgery, I did mine live so that people could enjoy my mistakes as I made them and maybe learn from them and not go wrong where I did. And I would say that it should probably take you about 2 hours if you have any light repairing skills. I have pretty much zero skills in this area. I have maybe once or twice removed ribbon cables and done that sort of thing in the past, but I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, an engineer or anything like that. So for me, it took about 2 hours, a little bit over 2 hours to do it properly. You also do need to flash your Mini to the new Android 13 build that works with this new screen. That also includes those of you that are on Android 13 already. It is a new build, so you will be flashing a new one. And so in every scenario, you are going to be wiping your Mini completely. Thankfully, I do have a full guide on backing up and restoring an Android device and all of your emulators, all of your saves, all of your configs, and I'll leave that in the description. I don't think a lot of people know about this guide, and I think a lot of people ask for something like this, so spread that word around. It should help a lot of people when they're moving from one device to another. But the actual process of the swap wasn't that difficult, it is just time consuming, and you need to go slow or you might screw something up. There are a few spots where you need to lift, like the left and right shoulder button contacts, or the volume and power button contacts. And I have a feeling that people are just going to yank on those and then try and pull them off, and then you're going to break it and it's going to ruin the entire thing. Instead, you need to get under them with something sharp if you want, or if you could use a spudger, that sort of thing. I used a little sort of knife that came with my iFixit kit to get under it, and just lifting it off so it separates the adhesive from the plastic, and that way you can get under and get them onto the new backplate. Honestly, this is likely going to be the hardest part for a lot of people, and hopefully they don't break it, because that would suck if you do. But hopefully my video helps you in understanding what you need to do in this scenario, and hopefully this warning also helps you to avoid that scenario. One other issue that I did find is the replacement backplates with the SD card slot cover. The cover's ribbon is not long enough. In fact, if you use it, you can't close your SD card slot cover properly. I suggest just ripping that out, and then ripping out your old SD card slot cover, and then stuffing that into the new backplate and using that. Once I did that, it worked perfectly. Now, in this scenario, it ends up being where your SD card slot cover will be the color of your old backplate. So mine is gray and you can see it. That doesn't bother me. It actually looks really cool, but that might be the only problem there. Otherwise, yeah, don't use the SD card slot cover that comes with the backplate. It is too short. It's not going to work. Now, I did my whole replacement differently than Retroid's video. I found it easier to just remove the entire board as one piece, with the fan still attached, rather than disconnecting the entire fan. It made it a lot easier on my end, and you didn't have to go and peel off all of the stuff that Retroid did, like the Mylar front part on the fan and all that. Just remove the whole board. It's simpler. But overall, again, if you've ever disconnected a ribbon cable and you know how to open the latch and safely remove a ribbon cable, you should have no problems doing this swap. For everybody else, I mean, it's up to you. If you think you might have the knowledge and can go slow and not rush it, then I would suggest doing it. But you could also just follow my video. I am somebody who doesn't have those skills, and I went through it and carefully with live chat guiding me throughout the entire process. So maybe that might help you, is just watching the video and going real time like I did and trying it out that way. But now the end result is I have a Frankenstein Retroid Pocket Mini here, which has the same screen as the Retroid Pocket Classic, except you have sticks, you have better triggers and shoulders, you have more power, you have a lot of upgrades. So this ended up being a very funny scenario because I had my Retroid Pocket Classic for under a day. My R1 was broken out of the box, so I'm waiting for a replacement still. But it ended up being a funny scenario of, if you have a Mini, do you need a Classic? Because you could just do the screen swap and have the same screen and have a better device. And I guess the only real difference is one is vertical, one is horizontal, but you probably just saved yourself $140 US. But honestly, what is super cool to me is just how good this screen is. The Classic had that same feeling when I had it for the little bit that I had it, but seeing it now here in all of its glory and being able to play Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, and they're all just drop dead gorgeous. You can try and play Spot the Black Bars because it's not a perfect 8x7 screen, but you're not going to see those black bars. It's very, very not noticeable. I have even integer scaled Game Boy and Game Boy Color, and it shrinks it down slightly, but the uneven pixels in games like Pokemon were really bothering me, so I stuck with integer scaling. Outside of under my studio lights, the black Mini really blends in nicely with the black bars. And so those of you that are allergic to black bars, you likely won't have a problem here with really any scenario. It kind of blends in. 4x3 content looks fantastic on here, either integer scaled or non. Personally, I am leaving it again as integer scaled since it is such a small difference and it looks better. But honestly, it is such a crisp screen that it just works beautifully here. Now, of course, 4x3 content doesn't just mean Super Nintendo or NES or older systems. You can do 8x7 aspect ratio if you wanted to for those systems. And you could do it without integer scaling or with, But if you do it without integer scaling, you are basically at full screen of what the Mini can do, exactly like the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. Since the Mini is as powerful as the Retroid Pocket 5 and the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, you obviously have a lot more systems available to you. And I just quickly wanted to check GameCube. Again, it is the same as the old screen. Since the new screen's 4x3 content is the same size as the old one, whatever you experience there would be the same here. The only difference is now you have black bars on top and bottom instead of a shell. So wrapping it up here, is the screen replacement worth it? And in my mind, I would say absolutely. I don't see any downsides at all to doing this replacement besides the time, the skills necessary, that sort of thing. But otherwise, yeah, absolutely. And I think I know a lot of people that have the screen replacement, but no more Mini anymore. Maybe you want to go and grab that Mini again because it's cool, right? Game Boy, Game Boy Color suddenly looks so much better on here. SNES and NES, if you want to do 8:7 aspect ratios, look a lot better on here. And then you have all of the other benefits that the older screen had, or the same screen but covered, has, so you just gain. There's no downsides here. Again, I think the more interesting question here is, if you have a Mini and you're going to do the screen swap, do you need a Classic? And there's a bunch of different things we could talk about there. Personally, that Pokemon Yellow Classic, when I had it for the little bit that I did, really made me excited. I liked it, at least the colors and the feeling, the vertical, all of that. But if I was a normal person and I didn't need two devices, then that's a whole different scenario. I think the Mini might come out ahead for a lot of people in that scenario. But I think they're both probably going to be good devices. It's just a matter of, do you want a horizontal? Do you want a vertical? Now, one lasting thought here is, I don't think I'm ever going to understand why Retroid did what they did here. Why they decided to cover up the screen on the original Retroid Pocket Mini instead of just giving us this beautiful screen here. And I get it. There's a certain part of the community that scream about black bars or are like, I don't know, why would I use a 31:27 screen instead of 4:3? And so they probably try to make those people happy. But I can guarantee you, I don't think Retroid will ever make this mistake again, because this is exactly how the Mini should have arrived at the start. And I think a lot more people are going to be happy now with this as it is, and they probably could have avoided this from the start if they would have just done it from the beginning. Now, to correct this, Retroid, if you are listening, which I know you do because you're not sending me things anymore, why not sell this device with this new screen so we could all buy it? And look, I don't care if you sell it just black. That's fine. If you only want to sell black and you can only do black, sell it. There is a large segment of the community that will not go through the 2-hour or so surgery that I did and probably will just end up buying the device instead. So maybe since you've already done all this work, sell it. And then you can recoup some of the costs of you sending all of these back plates and front plates over to all of your users. I think that's the smart thing, is just sell it and make some of your money back. But I think people should experience this. I think people should get this because it's better. And so that's my hope, is Retroid will sell this. I don't have any information though. Hopefully they do. Anyways, that is it for today. Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow. Come join me on the Discord to talk all about retro handhelds like this one. Support me on Patreon if you like my stuff. And hope you all have a good one.